Okay, you're live.
Welcome everybody, and let's go around the table and introduce ourselves, starting with Chris.
Chris Hindoien, Mayor of Choteau.
Dani Arps, Grant Administrator for Teton County.
Bob Swartz, Mayor of Fairfield.
Sam Carlson, Teton County Commissioner.
Oh, Sandra Diakos, Deputy Collector Recorder.
And I'm Joe Dellwo, Chairman of the County Commission.
Dick Snellman, Commissioner.
Ross Fitzgerald, President of Power, Teton County Water and Sewer District.
Paul Wick, Teton County Planning.
Susan Fleshman, Mayor of Dutton.
Melody Martinson, Choteau Mayor.
Okay, we have minutes from September 9th and September 16th.
I'd move to accept the minutes.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We have a road encroachment request from Miller Colony. It's on 23rd Lane Northwest. It's, Alan went out and looked at it. They don't need a culvert. They're just gonna widen an existing approach to get their semis and equipment in.
That's for a field entrance, isn't it?
Yep.
Joe?
Yep.
I'd move to approve the road encroachment.
I would second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, that brings us to the union contract with the road and bridge crew. The changes, Mel, were the $1 an hour raise. They changed the definition of relatives to trigger bereavement leave to include partners. And they raised their employee pension contribution, which didn't affect the county. So if I could get a motion on that.
I would so move. Do we approve that union contract?
I'd second.
Any further discussion?
1 year contract, Joe.
I think it's a 2-year contract, and I think the second year is just wages only.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Which brings us to the ARPA portion of our meeting. At the last meeting, we were under the understanding that there was a second phase of funding that turned out to be incorrect, so we thought we'd better reconvene and have the same discussion again. So whoever wants to start.
I'm going to throw it out there because I know I'm going to be the villain in the pool. But my request to the commissioners would be to do what the governor did not do in the first place, and that would be fund the projects that were in the top 60. Life favors those who are prepared, I guess, more than anything. And so with that, the city of Choteau would like to ask for the $500,000 that we originally requested, and ask that the other $365 go to the 2 power projects that would have been funded fully under the governor's original announcement. And I know it leaves Dutton and it leaves Fairfield out, but we're ready to roll, and the money would be put to use quickly and properly as soon as we get our 14 pages to verify. If the shoe was on the other foot and we weren't ready to go, I would acquiesce and say the same thing. Those that are ready to go, let them go, and I would go back to my constituents and say this is why we did what we did. And with that, we'll leave it to you guys to decide on census.
I don't think Fairfield wants to go along with that. We're getting very, very close to letting bids. And for us to totally give up that money, I don't think that's fair. We're all trying to work to the same end, and we're using the same engineering firms. And that's going to make a difference of whether we can put this funding together to work for us without raising rates a whole lot. What we decided last time, I want to stick with that.
Well, we thought with the change in the last meeting, we assumed that there was gonna be a second payment to match the first, so we thought that there would be a change in viewpoints from the mayors. And we're still hoping that you four can come to a conclusion and give us a plan.
Mr. President, Mayor,
I'd like to hear from Ross first.
I'm not gonna argue with that. I mean, obviously, Power was in the top 60, actually in the top 40 some. You know, from that sense of things, Power can come out either way, in a sense, so, I guess we were misinformed as to that appropriation. I guess I don't know how that was misinformed on the 865. So we all had our hopes and expectations up, but nonetheless, you know, Power fundamentally as a small little unincorporated town is certainly happy to take, you know, the original amount, but I'm not going to argue against the proposal.
I guess first I'd like to know, where did that misinformation come from? Because for the two meetings that I attended, the second one was the first time I'd ever heard that there would be two payments. The first meeting, it was discussed that perhaps the money would come, the original amount would come maybe in two payments. But the second meeting, the information was that we were going to get two payments of equal amounts of money. Where did that come from?
Well, there's three different pots of money, and the confusion was there's another pot of money that would come straight from the treasury to the county. That one would come in two, I think they call it tranches.
It's the direct allocation from the treasury.
that's Pot A.
That's pot A, and we were being confused between pot A and pot B. So it was just it was an honest mistake. I do believe that between the state and federal government, I don't think they could have made this any more complicated before we tried. But we're clear now that there's just one pot of $865,000.
And unfortunately, to me, that set that the second meeting was for naught. However, if you think of it, that we were all in agreement, there was this pot of money, if you think of that, and we were equally going to divide it up and everything. Now we are at this point where there's only one pot of money, and Choteau, of course, wants it all, and then give a little dribble to Power. I, of course, agree with Bob. I disagree with that. But I just feel so that we lose either way we go, because it's a set up fact. If you go on census, we're the small one, except for Power. I don't know how many they service. How many services do you serve?
174 is the number I got.
Services, no, about 100.
Yeah. Well, we have even more than that in Dutton, but our population is, what's your population, or what census are you going to use for Power?
Well, the numbers I got were 319 for Dutton and 174 for Power, 723 for Fairfield, and 1,710 for Choteau.
Now, is that service connections or
No,
population?
That was population.
Well, we have more than 300 people in Dutton. Our last census was 611. We've had quite a few deaths, unfortunately.
And I question that number for Power. How do you put a number?
On an unincorporated town.
Right.
And so wouldn't you have to go by water use or
That number
hookups?
was the district, I believe, the Power, Water,
Yeah,
and Sewer
okay.
District.
So that's your hookups?
No,
No.
that's 174
Souls.
human beings
Yeah.
that live in town, and there's 8 or so hookups to the school, so even the hookups don't reflect the total number
Right.
of domestic residences.
But that
The
lives,
174 is not too far off our last number, which was around 161.
and that's within the district.
Well, that's the only
Those are
thing
the
there.
boundaries.
Everything that's there is there.
What we talked about last time, the most important thing that I saw is not one spot getting all the money.
Right.
We're spreading it out. And I think what we talked about is about as fair as we could because we're spreading out through the whole county.
Right. And this money, in the flavor that it is set, is so that it does good for as many people as they, or many entities or projects that they can. And with this, even if you go on census, of course Choteau's the biggest, and they have the biggest thing and everything like that. One thing you don't realize though, you know, we may be the smallest Dutton and stuff like that, but we have been at this, doing this for a number of years. And Fairfield's done it, they've done it a little bit, but just recently has Choteau started to crank up and get their systems and stuff like that. And I firmly believe that we shouldn't be penalized, and Fairfield, and I know that power they fix when it's broken and stuff like that, and they've gone after grants in the water tower and everything like that. But to want to take on such a behemoth project and get it all done within 2 to 5 years or however long it's going to take and everything like that, and take all the money, and this is a once, should I say once, hopefully in a lifetime, the COVID money, which I think is to help everybody. You aren't helping everybody in your district. And especially, you're pitting a municipality against a district. I don't think that's fair. It's the same way with Bob. I mean, I don't think we should be pitted against each other in that way, and also penalized because the way you guys are going to decide your census, is it on population, is it on hookups or whatever? I mean, that type of thing.
So I haven't been sleeping very well.
Obviously.
Probably
Do you
none
think
of
we
you
have?
So one evening I was sitting in my easy chair. The founding fathers, this is kind of convoluted, and I ran it by Chris. The founding fathers had the same problem when they formed the government. They had the population centers, they had the rural areas. What they did is they came up with 2 houses of Congress, one based on just numbers, everybody gets 2, the other one based on census. So what I came up with in my non-sleeping evening, what if you guys each took $100,000 right up front, that would be about half of it, and then took the other half according to census on the split. It's kind of a compromise, doesn't keep anybody happy.
I would be on board for that, Mr. Chairman. The city of Choteau would be behind that.
Just off the top of my head, which I can't compute that much, then how much is on census?
Using my numbers, and we would have to get accurate numbers because I just had like the 1710, 319, and we would want to verify that. But using my inaccurate numbers, Choteau would end up with 371,890. Fairfield would get 214,957. Dutton would get 157,21. And Power would get 127,660. And those are approximate numbers because I think that the census numbers I have probably aren't the ones we want to use.
I would go along with that too also, because I'm not going to sit here and argue and stuff like that and be the bad person. I would argue if you were going to go off of census solely and or project ready to go, we're all ready to go in the sense that we're all chomping at the bit to get things done and stuff like that. We're all going to compete what is necessary. We're all going to do it, and we're all going to get our projects going come hell or high water.
This money has a timeline on it too,
Yeah.
that it has to be spent
Right.
by.
Right.
Right.
And so this would allow it to be sent, at least all of us would get something instead of a couple of $100. So I would say that the town of Dutton would go with that, as long as after we meet today, you don't come back and say, oh, guess what, your share is a lot less because your census is this. I mean,
Well,
You
we
have
would
inaccurate.
We would have to use the official,
The
Right,
2020 numbers are up, my numbers are up, we're over 1,800 now.
so we could agree to use the 2020 census numbers for
Be the
all
most current ones.
four entities.
that is, I would agree to
'Cause
that,
we want you guys to be on board with this.
yes. Dutton would be on board with that.
So the $100,000 for each.
Right up
entity,
front.
And then we use the census numbers to split up the rest.
Dutton would agree to that.
So I've
So
got
will
two.
Fairfield.
All right, I've got 3. Maybe it's a good thing I don't sleep at night.
Yeah, well, that's a good.
Ross, are you
Cool,
okay with
yeah,
that?
we're
Are you
cool.
gonna take the rest of the day off and go home and sleep now?
I may.
Well, like we say, we could sit here and argue about this
Right,
for
and that's
days.
very true.
And there's no point, we're all from Teton County, let's get
We're all
along, get
citizens.
this thing
Yeah,
done,
yeah.
and move as fast as we can on our projects.
Right,
So we're all in agreement with that?
Yes.
And I guess the only other thing is we need to have
Our letters
statements.
our letters of engagement to you guys, and we need the
Before we
14
can
pages
release the
from
money.
Coble still to,
Yeah.
Right.
Have those been sent
yeah,
out?
go through another attorney to review before they all get signed off.
He's got it.
So we will
Cole
get
has
the
it.
latest census numbers and we will get the figures and I will get those numbers to all 4 of you and then you can use
You'll
those
send out
numbers.
letters to us?
Well,
Just email me what our numbers are,
yeah,
and then when Joe's ready for the letter, I'll come get our copy and get it, because I'm gonna have, as goofy as it sounds, it's gotta go through review by our city attorney as well.
yeah, that's just the way the world works.
Yeah.
So I will get all 4 of the entities, the numbers that we come up with but we'll use the formula that we agreed on today.
Yes.
Thank God.
That
for
wasn't
some-
too
Yeah,
bad.
we go, yeah, that was pretty close to what.
And I
had
figured
come
we'd end
with
up there, but I'm
so-
gonna
See,
swing for the, I'm gonna swing
and
for
nobody
the
wants to hang you either.
Not today. Yeah.
It's only 10:20, so come on.
Yeah.
Well, therefore, then, I would move that we go with this proposal, and everyone's in agreement, so I would do that as a motion.
Okay.
I'd second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Boy, that must have been a great proposal, no discussion.
No,
No.
we're on board.
Okay, very good, I'm glad. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries, that's how we'll split it up, and we will get the numbers out to all 4 of you.
Sandra got that formulation? Yes?
Yeah.
I have a question from Mel.
Not a question, just if you could send that to me too, that'd be great.
Yes. we will.
Because I know the 2020 numbers are a little different, not hugely, but a little different.
Yeah.
They're
Very
not easy
good.
to find either.
No,
What's that?
They're not easy to find either.
Our 2020 numbers are on our Choteau homepage now, and
Yeah.
I went and just cut them right out of we're like the 42nd largest city in Montana now.
Wow,
Yeah.
So where'd you get those? Do you
From
know?
Is that the
Census
census?
Bureau.
Okay.
okay.
just some
so-
of that information. It's like every day there's a little bit more
Right,
available.
yeah.
A lot of it, but you gotta watch, cause a lot of it's still
Some of it's
2019
2019 estimates, yeah.
estimates.
Okay, well, we will try to use the 2020 that we've agreed on.
So is that what you,
I'll get those numbers from my grant administrator, she has access to all that stuff.
for your numbers, you used the 2019
Yeah, I
estimates
just
probably?
grabbed, yeah, it is the 2019, but I didn't need exact numbers. I
They were
didn't think.
close.
It's just basically for the proposal. Okay, commission reports.
I don't have anything further than this.
Dick?
I just appreciate the community's participating and understanding where we're coming from, trying to disperse all of it.
This was a much better process than us just sitting down.
Oh,
and coming up with
absolutely.
a number, because
Yeah.
we value you guys' input and all of your citizens are our citizens as well, so I thank you for that. Okay, public comment.
Just want you guys to keep in your back of your minds some thoughts and prayers for one of our councilmen who's in the hospital in ICU right now. He's fighting a battle that's not COVID related. They're struggling to get a true grip on things. I was told he's in a medically induced coma this morning,
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jane came up and told us that
Yeah.
too.
and so,
We will keep him in our prayers.
thank you.
Any public notices? Okay, next meeting is the 21st, and we are adjourned.
Thank you,
all
everyone.
for coming.
Thank you. Yep.